Did you like Interstellar? Because I didn't really like Interstellar, and I love Chris Nolan's films. So one of the questions I get asked from friends and family and anybody who knows me about Transcend, my first feature film that I'm in development for right now, is what was the inspiration behind making the film? Or what was the inspiration behind the idea of the film? Well, honestly, there's a lot of answers to that. One of them was, what kind of genre do I want my first film to be? And half of the answer to that is sci-fi, but I knew that wasn't quite enough. Sci-fi often gets placed into B movies, and I really didn't want that to happen with my film. So I knew that it had to be a human drama that had a sci-fi element to it. And to be honest, sci-fi is not a genre, it's a setting. You put a noir in a sci-fi setting. You put a romance in a sci-fi setting, etc. But getting back to initially why I wanted to make Transcend is when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, I saw Interstellar. I have a little bit of a bias because of an issue that took place when I first saw it. I saw it at the Chinese Theater, which is in downtown Hollywood, and it's where the Oscars used to be, and now it's right next door is the Kodak Theater. Well, now it's the Dolby Theater. That's where the Oscars are. But the Chinese Theater is where it all got really started, and the big movies premiered there. They still do. They still premiere big movies at the Chinese Theater, and they still use the main theater for the big movie of the week. And at the time, that was Interstellar. So the Chinese Theater just installed an IMAX screen and a really big sound. And of course, Chris Nolan's films from The Dark Knight on have always had IMAX footage. And there are only a couple of theaters in LA that can actually show IMAX footage. Like, you don't know the size of IMAX footage. It is ridiculous. So about that big is one frame of 35 millimeter film, right? That big is one frame of IMAX film. Now imagine 24 of those moving through a shutter per second. And then imagine some poor schmuck who has to carry a shoulder of that, getting handheld shots. So I went to see the movie in the Chinese Theater, got good seats, and halfway through the film, shortly after Matt Damon shows up, the film... And then when it does cut back in, like 5 minutes later, the sound sounds really terrible, really shoddy, because it's really pissing me off. It's pissing off everybody. We left. And this is all after the chauffeur of the film, which they do at the beginning of every Chinese theater screening, is boasting about how it's on IMAX with amazing sound, etc., etc. He even said that Chris Nolan used the Chinese theater to test the sound of Interstellar, which was hilarious. Walking out of that, I had a bad taste in my mouth with Interstellar, like really bad. I had an issue with watching that movie again. So it was difficult for me to discern whether my dislike of the movie is because of that bad experience or if there's actual issues with the film. But there was a moment in the film that really bugged me, and it's this moment right here.
Love isn't something we invented. It's observable, powerful. Maybe it means something more, something we can't yet understand. Love is the one thing we're capable of perceiving that transcends dimensions of time and space.
And when I saw that, I was like, did she just try to explain love? You don't explain love ever in a film. You just don't do it. You show it. That's an old saying in filmmaking, like don't say it, show it. And sometimes you gotta say it, you gotta explain things. And with a movie like Interstellar, there's a ton of exposition that just you need to go into. And Chris Nolan's actually pretty good at that. He's pretty good at a large amount of exposition and getting away with it. I thought Batman Begins kind of had a lot of that going on. And Inception especially had a ton of exposition. And it worked because you needed it. You couldn't get through the movie without it. But with this movie, they took the explanations to a whole other level, and it wasn't good at all. And it was love. They kept using love as a plot device. And it was in a way that I was just like, you can't explain love like this. Love is not explainable. There was a great line in The Matrix where the Oracle says, being the one is just like falling in love. No one can tell you you're in love, you just know. I said, that was a pretty poor way of explaining love to me, especially with Anne Hathaway's character, that she loved a character that we never met. And I was like, that's just a big no-no. Sorry, you just don't do it that way. So I said, okay, what if I did some sort of sci-fi movie about love that didn't explain love, just showed love properly? And then I was like, what if I tried to literally visually show what love is like? And that was the idea for Transcend. How do I show love visually? Literally. How do I show that? So then I remember reading The Da Vinci Code. I love that book. Hate the movie, but love the book. And how it had a moment where this cult felt that having sex brought you closer to God. And that started a string of ideas where I felt like I could portray love visually. And that's when all the ideas around Transcend started to come together. So getting any deeper will kind of give away the plot, and I don't want to do that, but I just kind of wanted to give you guys an idea of what Transcend is about and how I got the idea on a thematic level and how it's going to be portrayed visually. So thanks for hanging out, and I look forward to talking to you about the next step of my first feature film.